صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, assalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Alhamdulillah, Allah gather us again tonight for MCSK Friday talk. And today, almost at the end of 2022. I think there's one more talk next week, yeah, inshallah. Today, we last time, probably 2 months ago, we started our series with the four imams of the fiqh imam. And last time we talked about Imam Abu Hanifa, and tonight, inshallah, we're going to cover a little bit about Imam Malik bin Anas. So I think he's one of the giants within Islam. Then probably we should know one or two about this this giant, or one of the greatest alim that our religion has, right? So before we start, so last time we talked about where is it? Okay. So last time we talked about Imam Abu Hanifa. So if you remember, Imam Abu Hanifa was born in Kufa, and then his age of I think it's about 70 years when he passed away in Baghdad. So most of the time spends in Baghdad and around that area, right? So it's around where the empire, Sassanid Empire, the Persian, which is now Iraq and Iran, right? So Baghdad is basically Iraq right now. So today, our second Imam will be Imam Malik bin Anas. As you can see, he's gonna be a completely different Imam now, right? He was Kufa. Imam Abu Hanifa was in Kufa, and now Imam Malik is in Medina, right? And then, very interestingly, Imam Malik bin Anas never actually left Medina, right? So he was born there, he passed away there. The only thing he probably went away is just only to make Hajj, right? But other than that, he's always spent the rest of his life in Medina. So we're gonna talk about that, inshallah. And then, inshallah, after this, it's probably next year, right? So we're gonna talk the remaining two imams, which is Imam Shafi'i, which is in Gaza, and then later on he passed away in the first start. And then Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal was also in Baghdad. So that's it. This is the only imam that we have in Gaza, is somewhere in Syrian, right? The Levant and so on, right? Imam Malik bin Anas is in Medina. So you can see here, I actually draw a line. You saw that line, right? So they actually, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal never met Imam Abu Hanifa, right? So there's not overlap, right? Imam Abu Hanifa, they are about what, about 12 years, 15 years different. So they might have met, right? So they have a sort of overlap. So what we're gonna talk about tonight, inshallah, probably it's not gonna be long, probably half an hour or 45 minutes, inshallah. We're gonna talk about four things. We're gonna talk about definitely the life of Imam Malik bin Anas rahimahullah. But before that, we let's understand a bit what is actually Islamic jurisprudence. I think we have that before in our previous class in September, but I think if you're first time coming to this, but I think it's no harm of just visiting there. What is exactly this jurisprudence? Why we need this? Why this mazhab here and then mazhab there? Why we're not just having everything? Everything is from Rasulullah SAW, and it is basically from Rasulullah SAW. But what is the difference between that different thinking and so on, or different jurisprudence or fiqh in a way? So let's talk about what is Islamic jurisprudence. It starts from we know that our base of knowledge and base of law is from Al-Quran and Sunnah, right? This is our base one. During when Rasulullah SAW was still alive, during his time, people will start having different opinions, right? Now, how about this? How about that, right? Can we do this? Rasulullah mentions about this, but how about this one, right? So there are a little bit of different opinions among the companions. However, because Rasulullah SAW is still alive, they can just go, okay, tomorrow I'll ask Rasulullah SAW what is this. So then they will come and ask Rasulullah SAW, Ya Rasulullah, we have these arguments, and one of them is tayammum, for example, right? So you know tayammum, right? Tayammum is when there's no water, right? and then you need to take wudu. uh, So and then people will just okay, let me just put that and what on your face, right? That's what they know. But there were stories where true companions without the Prophet ﷺ, both of them having junub, right? So they have to do ghusl. So that's how to do ghusl, right? Rasulullah only tayammum only teach us to replace wudu, for example. So they don't know what to do. So one companion said, okay, if we use this to replace wudu, right, then I would probably use the dirt as well or the sand to replace ghusl. So take off his clothes and roll over the sands, right? So this one companion said, another companion says, no, no, we have this is only for wudu, not for ghusl. So I will go back to Medina and do my ghusl in Medina, for example, right? So there was a story about that, and then later on when they found Rasulullah, no, no, for even for ghusl, if you no water, you can still like you just perform just like you. There's not the dust or the dirt does not actually replace water, just to mimic the actions of purifying, right? So that is, and again, this is during the time Rasulullah, even the famous story of Bani Qurayza. I don't know whether you remember the Bani Qurayza, where Rasulullah mentions, do not pray Asar until we arrive at the camp of or the village of Bani Qurayza, right? And that is the message. Do not pray Asar until you arrive there. So when the companions come in waves, the first wave, they arrive there, it's Asar time, they do Asar. But people at the last wave, right, when they have not reached that village, right, it's already Asar time, is almost finished. So they become two opinions. Rasulullah explicitly mentioned you can only do asar at the Bani Qurayza. I will not make asar here. I will do that. So in the end, they are actually arrive after Isha. So they did asar, Maghrib, Isha. The other group of companions, no, no, no. Rasulullah did not mention that it means let's hurry, let's go, right? The the time for prayer is already prescribed. You cannot change it. Allah mentioned that, right? So this is so they stopped there and did asar, right? So that means two different opinions. So when they arrive in the Bani Qurayza, they ask Rasulullah, "Can you guess what Rasulullah mentions? Which one is correct?" Rasulullah did not answer. So that means both are correct, right? So that is already happened during. So, and then and Rasulullah was not at the premise or way. Then people will ask other companions. Companions will perform jihad. It's ijtihad, just like I mentioned, right? So now, after the demise of Rasulullah SAW, after Rasulullah passed away, Islam's spreading and so on, and there's still the need arose, right? Because as you go different sections of life, different conditions, different this, different questions, different cultures, different era, different time. Now people come up with the questions, and how do you do this, right? And they would come to certain companions who Rasulullah SAW already indicated they had this knowledge of the deen, like our mother Aisha, Ibn Mas'ud, Zaid bin Thabit, Ibn Abbas, right? Ali bin Abi Talib, and so on. So people come to them, right? And that is the story behind it. You see the progress, right? Uh, During the time of Rasulullah, they went straight away. After Rasulullah passed away, they went to the closest companions, those companions that Rasulullah mentioned that they have the knowledge of the deen, right? And so on. So when the Islam spread to the new lands at the Levant and Egypt and North Africa, and with the diverse custom, cultures, and they have different issues, circumstances, and then they come up with a different opinion. So that's why there is a need for us. So Rasulullah SAW probably put that at the Rasulullah SAW or Allah Subhanahu wa Taala probably mentioned certain like a corridor, but how you actually implement that at the lowest level, right? At the actual rules or law, right? So there are of course different opinions to that, and that's why they come up with the schools of laws, or what we call it today is mazhab, right? And rest assured that madhab is actually how they derive it based on their understanding, based on the condition at the time, based on the time, but they still rely on the the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's why the madhab came. Right. So when you ask again, what is madhab? Madhab is just a way of the method, of different way or different method of how the scholars define the need for the need for the law, or the jurisprudence, if you will. So then the deriving laws that were not spelled out before. So this is the madhab, right? So Rasulullah have never mentioned that before, but then because there's a need to do that, and they will understand it, they will put together the madhab, put together the law, halal or haram, and so on, and definitely using what we call zatul ijtihad and qiyas. So that is the general terms about that. All right, so we understand a little bit more about what is actually the Islamic jurisprudence. So, in a nutshell, it is the need for us to know what is the law. When people say law, all right, it's all about halal, haram, makruh, and the sunnah as well sometimes, right? And then also the what's the other one? Mubah, right? Whether it's allowed or not, right? So, and then sometimes over time things have changed as well, right? For example, in one time, one place, coffee was considered haram, right? So coffee at the time was considered. Why? Because there was a certain group that they're not really practicing Islam, but they've been using this coffee for them to do their ibadah, right? So at the time, people says, "Wow, this is coffee is drunk by these people," and they perform the act of another worship among what we understand what Rasulullah taught us. Because of that, coffee was associated to that group, and because of that, they make a fatwa. Coffee was haram, right? But then realized later on it was not there. It was just any other, like any other drink. There's nothing to do with their worship and so on. Then it's no longer haram, right? So Alhamdulillah. Otherwise, it would be very hard for me not to drink coffee every day, right? So this one example. Right? So that said, having said that, let's start with the life of Imam Malik. So as I mentioned, Imam Malik was uh, was originally from Medina and he spent all his time in Medina. His name is Malik bin Anas ibn Malik, and Malik ibn Abi Amir, that's a grandfather. Now, I don't know whether you remember Anas bin Malik. Have you heard the word Anas bin Malik? There's Malik bin Anas, then Anas bin Malik. Okay, Anas bin Malik here is also the father of Malik. So Malik bin Anas bin Malik. But there's also a very famous companion by the name of Anas bin Malik, the Khadim of Rasulullah SAW. He's the servant of Rasulullah SAW. He served for Rasulullah SAW for almost 10 years, right? So when Rasulullah SAW made hijrah to Medina, his mother Sulaim came. This is my son. My son will come here and do whatever chores you need him to do, so he can come and learn from you. And then he stayed that almost 10 years. So during almost the lifetime of Rasulullah while he was in Medina. So that's Anas bin Malik, right? So what we talk about is the Imam of fiqh of the Mazhab Malik, is Malik bin Anas. So they're two different things. Just to uh, where is actually this Mazhab Maliki? You know that before? Mostly North Africa, and it used to be the Andalusia, where the Spain right now, the Spain and Portugal used to be a sort of a sultanate of the Muslims there before they took it away. It was Maliki at the time. Most around Egypt as well right now, the Egypt, and part of Syria and Yemen and Sudan and Iraq. They also following the jurisprudence or the law of Imam Malik, right? So that is the mazhab. So because of that, Imam Malik is called Tabain. That means he met the Tabi'in. Tabi'in is someone who met the companions of the Prophet, right? So, and then he has been named a few things. Definitely, he was once named is Shaykhul Islam, right? Because his understandings about Hadith, as well as to make a fatwa and so on. And he's also considered to be man of aura because he has what do you say? It's a different outlook, right? So people he has tall, a long beard, right? And some people call him good looking because very rare. He's very like sort of a white complexion, right? So, and then always, every time he always make it a habit. Every time he makes a halakha like this, he was always make like the best clothing. So I don't know whether I'm wearing my best clothing right now, but I think it is. Yeah, it is. I don't wear it every time, right? So this, I would probably consider this one of my best clothing as well. Yeah. So that's this Imam Malik, right? So he spent all his life in Medina for about 90 years. Uh, and also because the way he speaks and so on, some people, like when you talk to them, you know that this guy demand respect, right? When you talk to people, like, so that's Imam Malik, right? So he's an there is a story, some narration that when he was in his mother belly, people's 9 months pregnancy, right? And it was story that he actually more than 9 months, probably almost a year or something. People who thought was something strange or something, probably some anomalies like that would come. So this is one of the narrations about, and that's why we came. He's a bit different with the white complexions and so on. So he wrote a book everyone would know by the name of Muwatta Imam Malik. Muwatta means the collection. It's almost like a collection. So one of the oldest and the most revered hadith collection, right? Of course, it's not part of the six, right? If you know the top two, right? We talked about it last time, the Sahih Bukhari and the Sahih Muslim. There's a top two, right? And then people also talk the book six. This two plus four, right? The Sunan Tirmidhi, Sunan Imam Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, uh, and then Nasai, Sunan Nasai. What's the other one? Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi. What's the other one? Ibn Majah. Right. So there's four. Two plus four. But Imam Malik was actually one of the very very early of the hadith collection. So yes, he was born in 711, right? It's about 93 Hijrah. So it's about not more than 100 Hijrah after after, of course, after the Hijrah of Rasulullah SAW. Now he was originally the Arab tribes from Yemen, right? And his grandfather, which is Malik, is actually the student of Umar bin Khattab. So I mean, this is a tradition, is one of very very close to the companions, right? And Imam Malik has a very sort of make a lot of reference to Umar bin Khattab, right? And he's actually learned from, the son of Umar, Abdullah bin Umar, is one of the greatest companion as well. He's one of the scholars as well. He's actually learned from his student as well, right? Now, that this grandfather was involved in the collections of the Quranic text for the first time. So that means it's in the blood, it's in the family. So it's in the family is very close to the companions. They know about the companions and get involved in even when they start building the Uthmani Quranic at the text at the time. Right. So as mentioned, he was born, spent most of the time in Medina. His great grandfather, which is a father, the great grandfather, which is Abu Hamid, he is the one who migrated to Medina during the Battle of Badr. So he's considered companions. So his great grandfather is already companion. And not only that, he's one of the persons who got involved when Uthman bin Affan was assassinated. He was there and involved in the burial of Uthman. So the family is in the blood. So very close to. It's only 2 or 3 generations after the Prophet and the companions. One of the key things about Imam Malik was he used his ijtihad when we make fatwa. He used the actions or the practice of the people of Medina. So he make that if because what happened is the people of Medina are people who close to the companions, the children of the companions, right? So they're very close to the source. So whatever their practice is very close to the Sunnah. So they use that, because some people in Medina practice that, they use it as a part of the halal and haram when they make a decisions about the law, right? So this is very interesting. I'm gonna tell you something interesting a bit later on today, which is yeah, this is the what do you call that? A trailer, right? So the alert. Right. All right, and again, his family is the family of know the science of hadith, right? So at the time, people, of course, it's in Medina, right? Just a few, less than but 100 years after the prophet. So everyone still knew the religion is still everyone is still close to the source and so on. And the whole family, they are involved in the hadith collection. Not only that, not only his grandfather, even his brother by the name of Nadar, right? So his brother is also an alim. If you want to use the word today, he's an alim. His brother Nadar is actually very popular. So when Malik was, oh, it's Malik who? Oh, Malik, the brother of Nadar, because it's. But then when Imam Malik getting more and more popular, and people was, who's Nadar? Oh, Nadar is a Malik brother, because it's Malik getting more popular. So he was raised in an environment, people of knowledge, people of learning, and at that time it's not strange to know that everyone start memorizing Quran because their language as well, and this is quite common. This is Medina, almost like the bastion of Sunnah, right? This is where, that's why Imam Malik took the practice of people in Medina as part of the Sunnah, because they're very close. They are the children of the companions, the Tabi'in, and so on, right? And that is where he originally he memorized the Quran. After memorized Quran and start memorizing Hadith as well. There's one very good story about Imam Malik. Imam Malik was aiming or planning to be a singer. So this is very interesting, right? And then and his mother actually asked him, why don't you just learn from, there was one sheikh at the time, one of the famous, go to Rabia, one of the sheikh, and learn from him, right? Just learn his knowledge. You don't need to learn the adab. Just learn the knowledge, just to encourage us, because everyone in the family are doing that type of learning hadith. But he's already memorized the Quran, right? And so and there was one day, and because he keeps singing and so on, and then and then one day the mother, just to steer him away from singing, right? This is Imam Malik, subhanallah, right? So the early beginning, right? The mother actually told him like this, you know what, singing is not all about voice. Looks is also important, right? So like almost you don't have a look for a singer, right? Try to steer him away, right? And not only that, I also have a narrations where he's also wearing earring as well. So you can name one of his singers and earring, right? It's very interesting. That's Imam Malik's one Allah, where he become after that. So then one day, his father quizzed him, right? And then, okay, I'll call Malik and call Nadar, and let me ask you this quiz, right? Let me ask you these questions. And then the brother always answered. And then he realized, what happened to you? Why you play birds most of the time? You have the pigeon distracted you. So because at the time people playing with pigeons and so on. So not only he wants to be a singer, right? Not only he's wearing earrings, right? And he's also playing with pigeons and so on. And his father told him, why don't you just, you just playing pigeons and get distracted because of that. And that word from his father actually, like a turning point, if you will, right? No, I'm smarter than my brother, or something like that. I'm gonna prove you wrong, dad, or something. Let me do it. And then because of that, he started learning the deen for about 7 years, right? He learned from one of the best, Ibn Hurmuz by the name. He's one of the biggest fuqaha in Medina. He's actually blind as well, but he then started about 7 years. He's learning from him, mostly around hadith and fiqh. After 7 years learning from him, just because of the word, you playing pigeon a lot, playing with the birds a lot now. Look at you, and then because of the word, it triggered him to learn. He learned from one scholars for 7 years, another scholars, and he also learning from one of the greatest as well, Nafi, which is the Maula, which is the former slave of Abdullah bin Umar. The big name, Abdullah bin Umar is the son of Umar bin Khattab. All right, and he also learned from Jafar as-Sadiq. Jafar as-Sadiq is one of the descendants from Ali bin Abi Talib as well. So he learned from them from one to another, right? And one of the great teachers at the time commented, he's always memorizing hadith, right? At the time, hadith was there's no sunnah.com, right? Unlike today, right? Unlike today, you just even before sunnah.com, people just copy PDF, what is USB drive? USB drive? And they just copy the whole collections of six hadiths. Right? At the time, they didn't have that privilege. They have to sometimes have to go far away just to get one hadith and to understand one hadith. Now we just subhanallah, and it's also sometimes can become a fitnah as well, right? And because some of the hadith, um, without the proper understanding, can actually misguide people, right? And I honestly, wallahi, brother, I found many cases where people got wrong, distorted information about Islam, or wrong information about Islam, or even um, they they even see Islam is not correct and so on and so forth, just because they go straight to the English translations of the Hadith. Subhanallah. This is one of the downside of having the whole sunnah.com into one, right? So, and again, it is good for people make references, but nowadays the general election and so on, people pick up hadiths and copy and paste. How easy people now copy and paste, like even our WhatsApp group, right? There's a copy and paste, and oh, this I know my cousin need to hear this a bang. So, all right, this is not how they learn hadith, right? You have to sit down with proper teachers. You can feel the teacher is not an online teachers when you touch the teacher. This is you actually can feel that, right? Because just very quick stories. I remember there's one stories, right? Someone like a student, they think they're good practicing Muslim, and then he come across questions. Come across, and nowadays with the atheisms and whatever movement that we have right now in the internet, and there's so many fitna, right? And they become worried about the religion, or they become they're not being able to answer that, right? So they start doubting Islam. They start questionings and so on, and they start living. They're not properly understanding and so on. They become worried about whether this is the right religion or not. And then even though they says, "Oh, I learned about how do you learn from YouTube and so on," and okay, so what happened is he traveled with this person who having doubt about Islam. They traveled to I think UAE or something. Right? They went there and just do quick vacations, and they visit the masjid, and they visit one of the sheikh there. All right, and then he just watched there in the masjid. He's already having lost faith about Islam, and then when he was in the masjid, he saw this gentleman, the sheikh, did prayer and then make sujud, watching that someone having a sujud, right? And it's probably the aura of the condition, and he was just crying and making sahada, right? And that's why it's different learning from YouTube or learning from online with the actual nowadays with the COVID and whatnot, right? Everything is becoming more online. Everything is online, right? Right. Even our class now is also not many. Yeah. So it's always good to feel and to feel the spit of your teacher or your right. So because it's not the same, right? Yeah. Yeah. As I said, I got sidetracked a bit. Alhamdulillah, we have like a sunnah hadith collections online, but sometimes it can be a backfire to us as if people who have bad feelings about Islam, or the people who want to understand Islam but not correctly, and then they just pick and subhanallah. So yes, at that time, the hadith were taken directly from mouth, not from books. So if someone memorized the hadith, they go there. Of course, their tradition is to memorize hadith. This is part of the traditions, part of the cultures that they do memorize things. And at the time, there was no need for them to book because they have in oral traditions, so they have that. Right. So that is, and then during the time of Imam Malik, people start writing. That's why he was probably one of the first people who actually start writing the hadith. Remember the name of the hadith book? Muwatta, Muwatta Imam Malik. Yeah. All right. So, wow, subhanallah. So Imam Malik actually divided the Sunnah or the Hadith into two groups. One for people in the for mass, right? So everything can know how to do wudu and stuff like that. But certain things that require further understanding and knowledge and learning, he will keep it to himself, right? He will not just open it, share with one, because you need to be like, I think it's normal, right? Like there are in university right now, there's a bachelor degree, the master degree, and a PhD and so on and whatnot, right? So they have level of understanding as well. You don't give the material for PhD to people who just enter university, right? You don't do that, right? Until you build your understanding, right? So this is one of the things that sometimes hurt us as a ummah, where people think that is the hadith and everything. You can just pick and choose and then throw it to your cousin. Yeah, you need to listen to this, and then just see the WhatsApp is just all forward, forward, and forward. All right. So one of the thing about Imam Malik, he stay away from any political involvement, right? He stay away from that, and he's probably what do you call that? Non-partisan, right? So you don't go to one particular group, and I think this is one of the same thing with Imam Abu Hanifa, right? So you don't take sides to people who, I don't know whether you have cases, but well, in sometimes in my country, so you don't need to know, but you think you know which country I'm referring to. There they get sidetracked as well, right? They take sides into this party. If you, and the problem is when you take sides to that, people will think that your choice is Islamic. So if you choose the other one, it's become haram and so on. That this is not. This is not if our big imams and like Abdullah bin Umar, for example, is always stay away from here, and the same thing Imam Malik is also stay away from that. All right. So in terms of fatwa, he after he completed his study, I understand that after his learning from this Imam Nafi as well, Nafi rahimullah, and then after that, after 3 or 4, right, then he has his on halaqah in Masjid Nabawi, and then he said, I will not give fatwa until 70 ustad, 70 sheikh testified that I'm ready. It's not that's not a small number. It's like not only 70 people on the street. Like, so that's why he is very careful about giving fatwa, right? He's very known. Actually, he's known by la adrik. La adrik means I don't know. So Imam Malik, famously known by I don't know. People come to him, yeah, Imam, how do you this? I don't know, right? So he's very careful about giving fatwa, right? If he does not have the detail, he would just say easily, I don't know, right? I think there are stories when mentions later on about people come from miles away and days and night, and so like 7 days people come and say, Imam, can you please do a fatwa for us? I don't know. So who knows? Whoever Allah guides, right? So I came all the way here. You don't know anything? Well, I don't know, right? So I think this is one of the being humility nowadays, where people will answer it right away, and I don't know. Now he's the one who were very very careful about giving fatwa. Yeah, he passed away in 179, so it's about 90 years. So he got many students from all across. Why he has many students compared to the other three imam? Because when people make Hajj, right, people make Hajj or Umrah only go to Mecca, right? They don't do to other place, and because of that, Mecca and Medina and where he was based, and sometimes we will probably do Hajj as well. In Mecca, people will come to him. That's why he's well known and his teaching widespread and so on. Right? Uh, he spent most of his life teaching until he got sick, and then he taught from his house. Right now, so what is how he earned his living? This is very important to know. So Imam Malik, right? Imam Malik sell cloth, expensive cloth, and compared to Subhanallah, like Imam Abu Hanifa, for example, he actually very well off. That he actually financed his own student. You need to look tired. Let me pay you clothing, right? So that's Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Malik, there's a question how he made living as well. Probably his father sold arrows like the, so that's probably, and then I think most narrations mention that he actually doing cloth threading as well. So his brother is doing threading. So that's how he earned his living, right? Um, and of course, it's different with Abu Hanifa. Abu Hanifa is even more well off, and not only he didn't take payment, he also pay his own student, right? So the one of the things different within Imam Abu Hanifa was Imam Malik can accept gifts from the caliphs, so from the government, for whatever, from the ruler at the time. This is not Imam Abu Hanifa never accepted this. He will never get anything from the ruler, right? He he decided he accepted it, right? So he accepted it, and this is part of the. But again, most of the his living coming from his clothing. So this is a double. I accidentally a double type this, so I'll probably just move on. All right, so I don't know what. Can you see this? Can I can I pinch that? Can you see that? It's too small, probably, right? Just give you the political timeline, like Imam. This part. This is just Imam Malik here, and then he was born 93 and then passed away 179. So it's overlap with Imam Abu Hanifa. And as you can see here, right, this is the Abbasid ruler, right, the Caliph at the time. As you can see, Imam Abu Hanifa was imprisoned twice by the ruler because of his speech, because of his fatwa or something like that, which just annoyed the government at the time. He got in prison, and I think he even died because of that, being prison as well. Imam Malik also not, he was not like prison, but he was like captured and beaten, right, and also in prison as well, right. So that's why we when they decided not to support certain government. If the government is wrong, then you're wrong, right? And nowadays, uh, not many people will be able to do that, right? So there are sheikh or ustad who in favor of the people, right, or in favor of the government, or in favor of the Prophet Muhammad SAW. Which one is this? Right? I also put this. I don't know whether this is actually can be seen as well, can be viewed as well. This is just the yes. This is just the student, not a student, the teacher. As you can see here, this is all the companions: Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Abdullah bin Umar, Aisha radiallahu anha, Zaid bin Thabit, and so on. These are all the companions. All these companions, they have all the students, right? We mentioned about Rabi'ah, we mentioned about Al-Zuhri, we mentioned about Ibn Humus. Well, this is all the tabi'in that learn from the companions, and all of this also the teachers of Imam Malik. So you can see this is very close in terms of relationship, in terms of understanding the deen, and it lives in Medina as well, right? I'm not gonna go into detail about the students of Imam Malik as well, right? So this is roughly about the life. Of course, we don't do justice. There's a lot of stories about him, but I just pick up some of the things. I have about two or three more slides about just to capture what I think I want to share about his teaching, um, and then probably we're done with the legacy, inshallah. So his legacy, his teachings, he taught in the masjid, right, and then moved to house after 50 years. So it was really about one of the things that he said that he when he when he taught, right, he's very very serious. So one of his students actually comment about when he was with us, right, he was just cheerful and joking and everything, but when he was teaching us, everyone was with awe, right? And then as if he did not recognize us. He's not joking, right? This is the sunnah of Rasulullah SAW. He actually every time he mentions the word of Rasulullah SAW, he makes sure he's in a state of wudu. Right? This is how he venerated the hadith of Rasulullah SAW, right? Not like us, we just go sunnah.com, copy and paste and WhatsApp, all right? This is, and again, this is because they value this. They value this so much. Uh, and that's why when he start talking about it, right? People actually almost do not recognize him, like completely different person, right? So this is one of the things he says. People of knowledge that never send, utter any jokes and so on, right? We can do jokes and everything, but in a normal situation. But when you talk about hadith, when you talk about this, they're really serious about that, right? So this is out of respect to hadith, and that's why he became one of the greatest imam. There's actually not only four mazhab. There's a couple of them, right? But the one that survived, that actually stay longer, I mean, that become almost like canonized, is this four, and one of them is definitely Imam Malik. Um, yes, people from almost every land, because especially during Hajj, right? People will come, right? And then he has this, he has an open door, so when he having class, people can come and learn hadith from him. But he has someone stay in the door, right? Especially during Hajj time, and ask where these people from, right? People from Medina allow them to come first, right? Until we get every the front row, all the Medina people, then you let. So he let the he just make this policy to make sure that people, the closest one, because if they need understanding everything, they can ask to come, right? So this is a story where people come from Morocco, like a 6 month journey. Uh, Morocco got position number 4 in the World Cup last time, right? No, the Morocco, yeah, but it just, you know. So yes, yeah, too bad. They could have gone to the final anyway. It's a 6 month journey, and want to meet Imam Malik, and then he says, uh, I have, I have, I need to convey questions. Can you please answer my questions? And Imam Malik says, no, I have no knowledge. I don't know. La adri. I don't know. So he become the Imam of La adri, Imam of I don't know. Then who knows then? Yeah, well, whoever Allah has taught. So I don't know. I'm so sorry. Right. So this is shows the respect to hadith, and very careful about giving fatwa. Right. Yes, mentioned in the slide the political timeline. He was during the Umayyah uh, dynasty, and then Umayyah dynasty was toppled, become Abbasid. He was there, and he was actually there when during the time of the Caliph was Umar bin Abdul Aziz. He actually adored him and respect him. One of the greatest Caliph. After the four Caliphs, I think you have to know, one of the Caliphs are uh, after one generation to generation, like their son, the pass it to their son. It's almost like kingdom, if you will, right? It's a dynasty, right? One of the Abbasid government, the dynasty, was Umar bin Abdul Aziz, and this is one well known for his wisdom, for his, and unfortunately, he was only very short, only 2 or 3 years, and his replacement was, well, behaved so badly, and put it that way. So this is one who prosecuted Imam Malik, and also Imam Abu Hanifa at that time. Right. Yeah, he mentions that Umar bin Abdul Aziz, one of the example of good government. So one of the interesting part about his fatwa, right, and I think some people try to adopt that as well, that you should not criticize the government, right? And why did he do that? Because, according to him, people should learn from what happened during during the time of just a few years before that. There was a big in Medina, right? Because the people in Medina, they rebel against the Caliph at the time. The Caliph was in Syria, so they sent the troops, right? And they revolt against it, and then they come, and so many people got killed, and so on and so forth. And because of that, because he was there he's from Medina, he knew the consequences, the bloodshed, the war, the battle between, if you try to fight your own government, and the evil of civil wars and whatnot. And it just probably, I don't know whether you heard these stories, right? Um, Not only the battle was crazy enough that number of companions and the children of companions got murdered, but also they pillaged, what do you call that? They just list the city and then rampage. They kill. Not only that, they also have. Subhanallah is very scary. Actually, one of the blackest or the darkest moment in the Islamic history was the time that so many people actually, because the troops was just asked they can do anything, so they do what they do to women. And it is the time, it is at the town of the city of Rasulullah SAW. It was really horrible how many people got killed, how women got raped and so on. It's very sad if you hear that the battle of Hara. And because of that, one of the fatwa from Imam Malik was you don't you don't revolt against the rulers, because the evil of the civil wars is crazy, right? So that is quite known for that, and I think some scholars also adopt that as well. You don't criticize them because the effect of that, right? This is the Abbasid government by the name of Al Mansur, and was whipped and racked until his shoulders got dislocated. This is what Imam of Hadith, right, of jurisprudence, when they have to say over Hadith, they probably mentioned the Hadith, and the government was not happy with that, and then they call him up and then take back your fatwa or something like that, and they're not happy and just torture him right until his shoulder dislocated. Subhanallah, this is how they how Allah actually preserve the names, right? How Allah is actually, we venerate the name because for people to be at that status, right? So they don't care about their lives anymore, right? So they to make sure that what is right, right? Even though they have to go against the government, against whatever the ruler at the time. So his knowledge is about hadith and jurisprudence, and then again his book Muwatta, and I mentioned about his students as well. So this is one of the out of four imams is the imam with the largest number of students, right? Because I said it because he's living in Medina and so on. I think. Sorry, why? Okay, might not. One of the principle of his principles of this what do you call that is mazhab, right? Is one as I mentioned to you, they include the practice of people in Medina, right? They use adat, so what people the adab and the urf at the time. Uh, I promise you, give you something very interesting to talk about. You know the dog of saliva, right? Is it najis? Is it haram? So many people, but especially because most people from the who adopt the Imam Shafi'i or Hanbali, right? They say the dog is najis, right? And the hair is najis, and the saliva is also najis. That's according to people from Imam Shafi'i and Imam Hanbali. They're looking at the same hadith and so on and so forth. Imam Abu Hanifa, as I said, the dog is not najis, but only the saliva, but not even the hair. Imam Malik say the whole thing is not najis. So this is very interesting, and he referred to Surah Al-Ma'idah, for example. Yes, alunaka maza uhilla lahum. When the companions asked the Prophet, what is uhilla lahum? What is halal for us to eat? And Rasulullah, and then kul uhilla lakumul toyibat. Everything that is toyib is one, and one of them what is toyib is wama the verse continue. I can't remember correctly, but if you train your animal to catch, it is as Surah Al-Ma'idah. If you say what is good and lawful, also what is caught by your hunting animal. So if you have your hunting animal, for example, your dog, you say Bismillah, and the dog capture animal which is halal for us to eat, right? And that animal is actually halal for you. For example, like bird or chicken or something or whatever, rabbit, right? So if the dog, you say Bismillah, and you train dog, right? The word is jawarihi mukallibin. You train your dog go and catch the rabbit and kill the rabbit and take it with you. The rabbit is halal for you to eat, right? So this is in the Quran, and Allah even mentioned that Allah actually, it is by the grace of Allah that you will train the dog. Mukallibin, the word from kalbi means in Arabic is dog. But this, and again, because of this, Imam Malik says, if the dog kill the animal, and then you can eat it, that means not najis. But anyway, this is again, this is just for us to knowledge. But I think the detail and so on, of course, you need to ask the scholars. We're not the scholars. It is something that we know. There's a different opinions in terms of the mazhab and so on. Yeah, this is what I promise you. Anyway, right. But the right way is ask the scholars what is the right ruling and so on. So that is the teaching. So just probably one page on legacy. What is the legacy of Imam Malik? Uh, I have to skip the first one. So he met the Prophet's companion. So he met his Tabat Tabi'un. He's one of the very intellectual faqih, right? So in terms of, and his school of fiqh is one of the most widespread. His principle is flexibility. So imagine now, right? He's so flexible in terms of, and then is the idea is to make sure it takes all the benefit. That's what he wants, and what is the goal of welfare of the people. So that's why even widespread, even Ottoman at the time was also Imam Malik, even to Mughal, to India, so was widespread. Now I don't know, it's mostly Imam Shafi'i, right, or Imam Abu Hanifa, right? Yeah, but that time was the teaching of Imam Malik. Yeah, I guess that's all that I can present. You have any questions or query? You have any questions? You have any questions, sister? No? Okay, I think we can end this session. So we thank Allah that we had this class. So at least this is very small snippet stories of Imam Malik, but at least this again, in the world that we live today, there's so many names. There's so many what do you call that? Celebrity names, right? Just recently we just finished World Cup with another celebrity names, right? And there's celebrity in sports, celebrity in politics. And Salah, we're talking about one of the celebrities in Islam, right? One of the giants in Islam, and where they have helped us preserve and understanding the teaching of Rasulullah SAW, and through these great Imams, and this is one of our celebrities, inshallah, right? So this is something that we should know. We memorize all other celebrities and so on, and then probably this is the Islamic celebrity that we should know as well. I think that's all the message for tonight, and hopefully what we learned today is something that to become at least closer to the teaching of Rasulullah SAW, knows what is mazhab, and who are the four people, sort of the giant within our jurisprudence of fiqh. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.